Picture this. You're standing in the middle of a wide open field. Snow is falling gently around you. The landscape stretches endlessly, pine trees heavy with frost, mountains barely visible through the mist. And there, rising from this pristine wilderness, is a structure that shouldn't exist. A building that looks like it was pulled from two different centuries, to different worlds. Half barn, half dream home. This is the Scandinavian Barndominium, and it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about where we belong. Now, I know what you're thinking. Barndominium. That sounds like something from rural Texas, right? Wide open ranch land, corrugated metal, maybe a tractor parked out front. But what happens when you take that raw, utilitarian concept and filter it through the lens of Nordic design philosophy? That's been perfected over centuries of long, dark winters and an almost spiritual connection to nature. You get something transcendent. Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Forget the farmhouses you've seen. Forget the sterile minimalism of modern architecture that leaves you feeling cold. What we're talking about here is a fusion so unexpected, so perfectly balanced, that it feels like it was always meant to exist. The Scandinavians have this word ***. It means just right. Not too much, not too little. Good balance. And that's exactly what a Scandinavian Barndominium achieves. It's the sweet spot between rugged and refined, between shelter and sanctuary. The exterior is where the magic begins. Imagine standing outside one of these structures at dusk. The walls aren't just walls, they're statements. We're talking about natural materials that have been touched by time, by weather, by the very elements they're designed to withstand. Charred wood siding, blackened using an ancient Japanese technique called shisugi-ban, but softened with that unmistakable Scandinavian restraint. The wood isn't just burned, it's transformed, preserved, made eternal. And then there's the metal. Oh, the metal. Dark, matte steel panels that catch the fading light like a whisper. Not shiny, not screaming for attention, just present, grounded. These aren't the bright, reflective barn materials you'd see anywhere else. This is metal that understands its purpose: to protect, to endure, to fade into the landscape while somehow standing apart from it. But here's where it gets interesting. The roof line. In a traditional barndominium, you'd expect that classic gable roof, steep and symmetrical. And yes, that's there. But the Scandinavian version, it's been refined, simplified. Sometimes a single pitch that seems to reach toward the sky. Other times, a subtle curve that echoes the rolling hills in the distance. It's not trying to dominate the landscape. It's trying to become part of it. And the windows. My God, the windows. This is where you really see the Scandinavian soul emerge. Massive floor-to-ceiling glass panels, but not in that flashy, look-at-me California way. These windows are strategic, intentional. They're placed to capture the low Nordic light, that golden, sideways light that feels like it's traveling thousands of miles just to reach your living room. In winter, when the sun barely crests the horizon, these windows become portals. They don't just let light in, they frame it. Worship it. Celebrate every precious photon. Now, step inside with me. The door, probably a massive slab of solid wood with a simple black handle, swings open. And suddenly you're standing in a space that defies logic. It's vast. Cathedral ceilings soar above you, those exposed wooden beams drawing your eyes upward, making you feel simultaneously small and infinite. But here's the twist. It doesn't feel empty. It doesn't feel cold. This is the genius of Scandinavian design. In any other barndominium, this much space might feel overwhelming, industrial, unfinished. But the Scandinavians have been mastering the art of Hygge, that untranslatable feeling of warmth, coziness, contentment for centuries. They know how to take vast spaces and make them feel like a hug. The floors beneath your feet are wide plank oak, or maybe reclaimed pine. Each board tells a story: knots, grain patterns, slight variations in color that machine-made materials could never replicate. The wood is pale, almost white in some lights, but warm. Always warm. It reflects the natural light bouncing off the white walls, multiplying the brightness, fighting back against those long winter nights. And those walls, they're not stark white. They're not sterile. They're the kind of white that has depth, maybe a hint of gray, a whisper of beige. The Scandinavians call it Scandinavian white, and it's the color of snow and shadow. a fog rolling over a lake at dawn. It's a white that changes throughout the day, breathing with the light. But here's where the Barndominium part reasserts itself. The materials don't hide their origins. That concrete floor in the entryway, polished but honest. Those steel beams supporting the second floor loft, left raw, maybe just sealed with a clear coat. There's no pretense here. No fake finishes trying to be something they're not. A Scandinavian Barndominium doesn't apologize for its bones. It celebrates them. Walk deeper into the space. The living area opens up before you. Modular seating in muted tones. Charcoal gray, soft heather. Maybe a deep forest green that echoes the pine trees outside. But then, scattered throughout like punctuation marks in a beautiful sentence, you see them, textiles. Not just any textiles, will blankets with traditional patterns. Sheepskins draped over chairs. Linen cushions in that perfect off-white that somehow looks expensive and casual at the same time. These aren't decorations. They're necessities. In Scandinavia, textiles are survival. They're comfort made tangible. And in a Barndominium, a space that could so easily feel cold and industrial. They're the secret ingredient. They soften every hard edge. They absorb sound in this massive space, making conversations feel intimate even when you're surrounded by hundreds of square feet of open floor plan. The kitchen. Oh, the kitchen. This is where utilitarian meets unforgettable. Imagine a massive island, and I mean massive. The kind you could butcher a whole deer on if you were so inclined. Made from a single slab of pale wood or maybe home marble. Not polished. Never polished. Scandinavians hate shine. They want texture. They want to feel the stone, the wood, the reality of the material. The cabinets are simple, almost severe. Flat panel doors in that same pale wood or maybe painted in a deep, muted blue-green, the color of the Baltic Sea in winter. No ornate hardware, just simple leather pulls or matte black handles. Nothing that distracts from the essential truth of the space. This is a place for gathering, for nourishment, for life. And above the island, hanging from those exposed beams, you'd find lighting that perfectly encapsulates this entire design philosophy. Maybe simple pendant lights with exposed bulbs, not trendy Edison bulbs, but something even more stripped down. Or perhaps minimalist metal fixtures in black or copper. Their shapes geometric, but not harsh. The light they cast is warm, pooling on the surfaces below, creating islands of brightness in the vast space. But let me tell you about something most people miss. The details. The tiny, almost invisible choices that separate a Scandinavian Barndominium from just a barn with nice furniture. There's a mudroom, of course there's a mudroom. In Scandinavia, nature isn't something you observe through a window. It's something you engage with every day, even in negative 20-degree weather. So there's a dedicated space for shedding the outside world. Hooks made from natural branches or simple wooden pegs. A bench probably built into the wall, with storage underneath for boots. Everything has a place. Everything has a purpose. There's no room for excess, but there's infinite room for intention. The bathroom is where this design philosophy becomes almost religious. Imagine a wet room open shower, drain in the floor, walls of pale tile, or maybe smooth concrete. There's a wooden stool, probably made from teak or cedar, materials that can handle constant moisture. A simple copper shower head, the patina already starting to form, making it more beautiful with age rather than less. And somewhere, maybe tucked into a niche, maybe on a simple floating shelf, there's a candle. Always a candle. Scandinavians burn more candles per capita than anywhere else on Earth. It's not about scent. It's about light. Living light. Dancing light. The kind of light that reminds you that you're alive, that even in the darkest months, there's warmth to be found. The sleeping spaces in a Scandinavian Barndominium are sanctuaries within sanctuaries. Maybe there's a loft bedroom, open to the main space below but defined by a change in ceiling height, by the placement of that massive bed dressed in layers of white and cream linens. Or perhaps the bedrooms are tucked into a more private wing, walls of windows facing the forest, blackout curtains ready for those bright summer nights when the sun barely sets. But here's what makes these spaces so powerful. They're quiet. Not just acoustically though, the combination of textiles and thoughtful design does dampen sound beautifully but visually quiet. Your eyes have nowhere to snag. There's no visual noise, just clean lines, natural materials, and that ever-present connection to the landscape outside. Speaking of outside, because we have to talk about this, the relationship between inside and outside in a Scandinavian barndominium isn't just important, it's everything. These structures understand that humans need nature not as a concept, but as a daily reality. So there are doors, large glass doors that slide or swing wide, leading to covered outdoor spaces.